Hey, without a doubt, the number one mistake that I see most amateur anglers making is that they choose the wrong line for the wrong situation. And I'm going to go through, explaining what each line's characteristics are, why they are, and I'm going to tell you some of the techniques that I use when I'm fishing out there on tour, out there for fun, so I have the right line. Hopefully it'll help you out and catch more fish, not lose fish, all that kind of stuff. So first of all, I'm going to tell you about braid. I use a Vicious braid. It has zero stretch, so when you set the hook, it's an immediate hook set. Immediate. If you're using a treble hook bait, you do not need to actually set the hook. You just start reeling. You got them. What I use this primarily for is matted vegetation. When I'm flipping a big 1 ounce weight in a smaller creature type bait, I'm flipping it into those matted holes of vegetation. You've got to have a line that's got a lot of torque to set the hook, get those fish out of there. 3, 4, 5, 6 pounders and up. They're just going to break you off or hurt your feelings, whatever you want to call it, if you don't have braided line. That's one of the first and foremost places everybody knows to use it. Also, a lot of people use it on frogs and toads, stuff like that, over top of matted vegetation. You really need that braid, so when you crack back on that hook set, you're gonna get a good positive hookup on it. And also, I use it quite a bit on top waters. Even in open water, but especially on the walk-in baits, the baits that constantly move. I don't think that bait sits long enough for the fish to focus on the line. That bait is constantly moving. Your walking spook type baits, it's constantly walking, and that braid on top of the line is 20 or 30 pound braid, doing that kind of stuff. As soon as those fish hit it, you just kind of lean back and start reeling. You don't have to set the hook, and once you get that fish's head turned towards you, you just constantly reel. Don't let that fish turn his head again, and you swing him right in the boat. Done deal. 3, 4 pounders, doesn't matter. 5 pounders, doesn't matter. As long as your hooks are strong enough, you're not ripping the bait out of their mouth. You just kind of keep them in a steady stream. That braid is really, really cool for that stuff. Poppers now, different story. Your poppers, your topwater baits that actually sit on top of the water for a few minutes. That's when I'm going to use Vicious Ultimate. It's a copolymer line. It's got a relatively low stretch. And that's one of the instances that I use this line. I also use it in all my shallow crankbait fishing. I use it in all my my spinnerbait fishing, and I use it on the baits that cast a lot, like those right there. And that's what I use that for, because it has that low stretch, but it does have stretch. It's low stretch for a monofilament line. It's not low stretch when you're looking across the board at the 3 lines. These lines are made primarily of nylon. They've been around the longest. They've gone through a zillion different formulations, and this Vicious Ultimate is a very good one. I know it very well, and it ties great knots. It's a good product. And then you got your Vicious fluorocarbon. Any of your fluorocarbons are primarily 100% fluorocarbon. They're much denser than this line, and that is the reason that they're more sensitive. And that density of the line also helps that line sink, so that you keep a straight point between the rod tip and where your bait is. The only crankbait applications that I'm going to use the fluorocarbon is when I'm going to be around vegetation, if I'm fishing a shallow crankbait, or if I'm deep crankbait fishing. I'm always using the Vicious fluorocarbon. It has that low stretch and that extra feel that I like when I'm deep crankbait fishing. You got a lot of resistance on the line. You need to have fluorocarbon so you can feel what's going on down there. You could have a leaf on your line, you didn't know it if you were fishing a copolymer line like this, but with your fluorocarbon you can feel that your crankbait's not vibrating. You know something's up. You can pop it off. I also use the fluorocarbon for Carolina rigs, Texas rigs, almost all of my pitching and flipping around wood, anything, I'm using that fluorocarbon. It's got that lower stretch and that sensitivity that you just can't get from any of these other lines. That sensitivity is phenomenal. I use one knot. It's a San Diego cinch knot. Works great with it. But any of those lines that baits that I'm throwing out there and I'm letting them sit, or I'm working them real slow, and it's not a flipping technique that I need the braid for, I'm going to use the fluorocarbon. And if you get into a situation where you are flipping matted vegetation and the bite is really, really finicky. And that's what I ran into at the California Delta in 2010 when I won the tournament out there. I switched from vicious braid to the fluorocarbon, and I definitely got a few more bites during the day. So, you know, if you run into that situation where you're needing just a few more bites when you're flipping that heavy stuff, you can switch to like the vicious fluorocarbon, maybe like a 20-pound test. You know, you're pumping that hook set back. If you're doing everything properly, your bait's rigged properly, you're probably not going to lose the fish either. So that's another instance you can use your fluorocarbon. And you know, when we get to spinning rod applications, you know, drop shotting, shaky head fishing, all that kind of stuff, flick shake, 6 and 8 pound vicious fluorocarbon, you're done. You're set. And when you get to the spinning rod applications, it's very important that you put your line on properly and that you use a line conditioner of some type. Vicious has a line conditioner, and it makes a world of difference on everything. Everything that I fish, no matter what line it is, no matter if it's topwater or if it's deep cranking, dragging a jig, no, spinning rod, shaky head, doesn't matter. I put that line conditioner on there, and it works wonders. And the way that it works is you put it on your line when it's dry, and you allow it to dry. You have to put that stuff on there. It goes on like a coat of wax on your car, so to speak, and it's some type of polymer that actually has to dry on your line to be effective. If your line is wet, you might as well just not even put it on there. You know, set that rod down, let that line dry out for a few minutes, then you can apply the vicious line conditioner. Give it about another minute or two, or longer if you can, to let that stuff dry on there, and then it's ready to go. You will be surprised at the difference if you have two rods set up exactly the same, one with the line conditioner, one without. You'll be surprised at how much further you can cast, how much more accurately you can cast. You look like a professional when you're fishing out there versus looking like an amateur of hitting 5, 6, 8, 10 feet off your target. You can be more of an effective fisherman if you use the line conditioner. So that's kind of my line system. Hopefully you can use it to apply to your fishing and catch more fish. I'm John Crews.